Let us welcome the next session's moderator, Mr. Selwin Hart, Special Advisor to the UN Secretary General on Climate Action. Selwin is just the right person as he has great insights into what is happening on the ground. Selwin, over to you.
Thank you so much, Minister Kwazumi. Can you see me and hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I can see you now. Thank you for your participation.
Okay, thank you.
Over to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Minister. It's always tough coming after not only you, but my very good friends, Andrew, Mark, and Vera, and the other colleagues who participated in the previous panel. I would like to thank you, Minister, and the government of Japan for hosting this platform. As the Secretary General said a few moments ago, COVID and climate are two of the most significant challenges our generation currently face. However, we have a unique opportunity to recover in a way that not only addresses the root causes of the COVID pandemic, but also allows us to address the climate crisis. We have a very full agenda for this session, so I will get right to business. I am very pleased to see such an overwhelming response from countries to your call, Minister, as well as the Executive Secretary, to speak about the green recovery and climate action. We want to hear from all of you, so I will be very tough and insist that you keep your interventions to under 3 minutes. We want to have a very dynamic discussion, so please make sure that you refer to the work of the green recovery, as well as the work that you're currently doing in your countries to connect the recovery from the COVID crisis to the update and enhancement of your NDCs. And please feel free to build off of the statements from some of the previous speakers. You will see on your screens a countdown clock, and this will help you, I hope, to keep within the time so that we can have all ministers and vice ministers who've signed up to speak an opportunity to make their really important interventions. One last point on methodology. The public was invited to submit questions before the event. And we have a set of questions that have been captured by our colleagues from Japan and the UNFCCC. So in the spirit of being efficient, those questions will be posted in the chat box for this session, and you will be invited to review them. And if you see fit, you can address them during your intervention. Of course, keeping within the 3-minute time limit. Finally, I wish to make one proposal, which is this platform and this session has already been successfully launched. And I propose that all countries, as this platform evolves, are given an opportunity to submit the green recovery plans and show how they are aligned to their climate targets and NDCs. I believe that this will be a valuable resource for all countries as they continue the work of refining their green recovery plans and strategies and their NDCs. So I would like to give the floor to our first speaker, and I believe that first speaker is you, Minister Koizumi. You will be followed by our current COP President, Minister Smith of Chile. So, Minister Koizumi. Minister?
Yeah, before I speak, video message is coming, I think, right?
Oh, video message. Okay,
yeah.
Sorry. Thanks.
Thank you to Minister Koizumi and the government of Japan for organising this panel. To tackle the climate crisis, governments around the world must come together, as we are doing today, to learn, to unite behind common causes, and to encourage each other to make the most of the opportunities ahead. We all know that the coronavirus pandemic has caused terrible harm, both human and economic. But the recovery is a chance for all of us to build back better, to create clean jobs, and to place green growth at the heart of our economies. That is what we're doing here in the United Kingdom. Since March, we have put the equivalent of $450 million into cutting emissions in heavy industry and almost $1.3 billion driving the move to low-emission vehicles. We're confident in this approach to our economy and recovery because we know it works. Over the past 30 years, we have grown our economy by 75%, whilst cutting emissions by 43%, creating thousands of jobs in new industries in the process. Our offshore wind capacity is now the largest in the world, employing thousands of people directly and through supply chains. And the price of offshore wind energy has fallen by 2/3 between 2015 and 2019. Renewables are now cheaper than new coal and gas power plants in 2/3 of countries. As a result, we can say with confidence the UK will meet its ambition to phase out coal power by 2024. And from April to June this year, we went 67 days without coal. There are immense opportunities for those developing the technologies the world needs to move to its low-carbon future. For example, Europe's electric vehicles market grew by almost 50% between 2018 and 2019. And globally, renewables are expected to attract 77% of all investments in electric systems between now and 2050, worth around $10 trillion. There has never been a better time to invest in the green economy, or indeed a more important time. To limit warming to 1.5 degrees, we need to halve the global emissions over the next decade. But we are not currently on track to do so. People are suffering right now as a result of our changing climate. And the window of time we have to act is closing fast. For our COP26 presidents, the UK is bringing together countries to make progress faster. We all need to focus on critical areas: clean energy, clean transport, nature-based solutions, adaptation, resilience, and finance. We need all countries to submit more ambitious, nationally determined contributions, driving further cuts in carbon emissions by 2030. And we need all nations to commit to reaching net zero emissions as soon as possible. As we have done in the UK, we will be net zero by 2050. Ladies and gentlemen, we are at a critical moment for the world's climate. To limit temperature rises, we must take this chance and unite behind a clean, resilient, global recovery.
Thank you so much. Minister Koizumi, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Selwin. Let me present concrete measures Japan is pursuing to accelerate redesigning our economy and society. First, redesigning the energy sector. Realization of a hydrogen society plays a key part of the shift toward decarbonization, along with the use of renewable energy. Japan was the first in the world to commercialize a fuel cell vehicle 6 years ago, and the fuel cell buses 3 years ago. Also, we already formulated the nation's basic hydrogen strategy 3 years ago. In Fukushima and other areas hit by the Great East Japan earthquake in 2011, the Japanese government has developed one of the world's largest solar-powered hydrogen production plant, equipped with a 10-megawatt water electrolysis unit. Along with this development, we plan to embody a world-first hydrogen-based lifestyle where hydrogen produced by renewable sources will lighten up people's day-to-day lives. As we accelerate our efforts to realize a hydrogen society, we encourage the development of technologies toward further reduction of atmospheric greenhouse gases, going beyond zero. This includes technologies such as the use of ammonia derived from renewable energy for decarbonization, CCUS, and carbon recycling. Redesigning a new normal lifestyle emerging as a result of the pandemic is also essential. In our effort to promote both digital transformation and decarbonization at the same time, we plan to build zero-emission data centers to be powered entirely by renewable energy sources. We will strongly promote the use of electric vehicles in logistics. to cater to the increasing demand for e-commerce and delivery services. The government as a whole supports such efforts in decarbonization to adapt to the new normal. I look forward to hearing about what other countries are doing in terms of climate action in different areas such as energy, transportation, city planning, and adaptation. Thank you, Selwin.
Much, Minister, and for your leadership in Japan in terms of steering it towards a clean energy future. I now give the floor to our COP president. Minister Smith, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Selwin. I want to congratulate Minister Koizumi and the Japanese government on the development of the platform for sustainable and resilient recovery from COVID-19. This pandemic is not the only crisis that we are facing today. As you know, climate change has not been in quarantine. Today, we have an opportunity to address these two crises together. COVID-19 has postponed COP26, but it has not postponed the need of parties to commit under the Paris Agreement and deliver the submission of more ambitious NDCs this year, 2020. In this period, in last April, in the middle of the pandemic, Chile presented a significantly enhanced NDC in line with the Paris Agreement targets, a long-term vision for carbon neutrality by 2050, as well as presenting new commitments across mitigation and adaptation. Our new NDC includes for the first time a social pillar with a just transition strategy for the decarbonization process and the contribution of each one of our commitments to the Sustainable Development Goals to improve the quality of life of our people in their territories. I want to be clear, updating NDC is not an unnecessary distraction from this pandemic. On the contrary, new updated NDCs can be the beacon, establishing a blueprint to guide a sustainable economic recovery from COVID-19. In this context, I would like to highlight the plan of Chile for the COVID-19 recovery. This plan considers a strong pillar of public investment and job creation where 30% of all added investments are especially for climate action projects in three areas: sustainable cities and pollution mitigation. This means clean transportation, especially electrifying our transport system, energy efficiency, renewable energies, sustainable houses and buildings. Secondly, water security and sanitation. All projects of sanitable water management, water efficiency, sanitation projects, flood defenses, and green and resilient infrastructure. And third, in forest and biodiversity, forestation, sustainable forest management, and fire control. These green investments were defined considering the commitments established in our new NDC and the International Climate Bond Initiative classification, the CDI, as a benchmark to guide our efforts. The online platform developed by Japan presents an invaluable opportunity to share experience and insights on our recovery path. Several years ago, former Prime Minister of Japan, Junichiro Koizumi, faithfully introduced to world leaders to the Japanese concept of motai nai, do not waste valuable things. The platform and our recovery from COVID-19 brings us the opportunity and the responsibility to put this beautiful Japanese expression into practice. Our time, our future, our nature, and our communities must be protected and not left to go to waste. We have an opportunity to recover better. Let's use it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Minister, and thank you as well for staying on time. I now give the floor to the distinguished minister from Minister of Environment of Rwanda, and we know that Rwanda has been one of the first countries to submit an enhanced NDC. Minister.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, President Mary Robinson, Minister Koizumi, our host, UNFCCC Patricia Espinosa, dear colleagues, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It is a pleasure to join you today for this important discussion. on a sustainable and resilient recovery from COVID-19. My appreciation goes to the government of Japan, especially to you, Minister Koizumi, and the UNFCCC for supporting the creation of this new platform to inspire the design of economies and societies to be more sustainable and resilient. The pandemic continues to affect the world economic and social system. It is a global challenge that has come while we are also working to address climate change and environment degradation. In many ways, the two are linked in both cause and consequence. The world will have to manage the impact of COVID-19 and climate change for generations to come if the policy response is slow, weak, or uncoordinated. This is why sustainability and climate resilience should lie at the heart of all recovery and post-COVID-19 economic plan. Like other countries, Rwanda's economy has been severely impacted by the pandemic, with losses in economic revenues and a sharp decline in exports and remittances. In Rwanda, COVID-19 has affected many households as the opportunities to either supply or supplement household incomes with casual labor were not available or limited during the lockdown. It is likely this situation will remain until the economy returns to strong growth. In response, Rwanda has designed an economic recovery plan that details our immediate priorities over the next 18 months. The plan guides the safe resumption of activities during and after COVID-19. It also includes short and medium-term measures to support the vulnerable households, boost employment, stabilize living conditions, and position sectors for resilient and long-term growth. Built on our green growth and climate resilience strategy, which envisages Rwanda to be a developed climate resilient and low carbon economy by 2050. The recovery plan will no doubt help us to achieve our national climate change goals. Excellencies, despite the COVID-19 crisis, Rwanda is committed to multilateralism to address climate change and achieve the aspiration of the Paris Agreement on the key climate actions, including the Kigali Amendment to the Montreal Protocol. This commitment was confirmed by the submission of our updated nationally determined contribution to the UNFCCC in May 2020, which made Rwanda the first country in Africa to do so. As part of our climate action plan, we will reduce emissions through improvement in energy production and use, better waste management, cleaner transport, more efficient agriculture, and of course, nature-based solutions. And as our economy and population grow, clean energy will become even more important. That's why we are investing in biogas, hydro energy efficiency, and a range of solar-based systems, including mini-grids, water heaters, and irrigation. Taken together, this will help Rwanda reduce emissions while connecting more people to power and creating thousands of well-paying green jobs. The COVID-19 pandemic has taught us that none of us are resilient until all of us are resilient. We are far too interconnected and far too dependent on one another to ignore the challenges we face both as individual nations and collectively as international community. That's why we have high expectations of this new tool, the platform for Redesign 2020 to foster global solidarity and enhance the sharing of practical information between a wide range of stakeholders. Together, we can harness our collective knowledge and experience to recover better and achieve the Paris Agreement, Sustainable Development Goals, and all other global commitments that we made to ourselves and further generations. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you so much, Minister. And again, we wish to thank and congratulate Rwanda for its outstanding leadership. We will now have two video messages, one from Franz Timmermans, who's the Executive Vice President of the European Commission in charge of the EU's Green Deal, as well as Minister Schultz, Federal Minister for the Environment of Germany. So we'll have the video messages from the European Union and Germany. But thanks again, Minister.
Thank you.
Dear colleagues, I would like to start by thanking Japan, and in particular Minister Koizumi, for the initiative to launch the online platform on sustainable and resilient recovery from COVID-19. The ongoing pandemic and the subsequent economic crisis place a burden on the lives of our people and our societies that is truly without precedent. As we brace ourselves for what lies ahead, we must also recognize that we have a once-in-a-generation opportunity to build a better future. The recovery needs to be green, or it will not be a true recovery. And to get there, we'll need each other. Governments, private sector, and other key actors, we need to inspire and learn from each other. The do no harm principle should guide us throughout our efforts. To build back better, we need to invest in 21st century solutions across all sectors: water, energy, construction, mobility, agriculture, and industrial processes. As the economy slumps, pressure to shore up old and polluting systems will grow. But we need to stay committed and opt for modern, clean, and efficient infrastructure instead. Europe is stepping up its efforts. Through the Next Generation EU Recovery Instrument and a revamped EU budget, more than €500 billion will be spent to support our climate objectives. And all our spending will be aligned with the Paris Agreement. The European Green Deal, together with the digital agenda, are at the center of our recovery strategy. With it, we will create jobs in a modernized, circular, and sustainable economy that can last for decades to come. In the shorter term, a renovation wave will make houses and buildings climate-proof while also ensuring employment close to home. We urge all our international partners to also put in place low-carbon policies and develop green national recovery strategies. Such plans will give our societies a sense of direction and purpose and guide investors, businesses, workers, and consumers towards sustainability. We will spare no effort in cooperating with international organizations and will continue our dialogues with our neighbors, with strategic partners and financial institutions to promote a green recovery and make sure past mistakes are not repeated. The COVID-19 crisis has put us in the headwinds of history. It is our responsibility as governments to steer our societies through this storm and stay the course we've set together.
Minister Koizumi, Executive Secretary Patricia Espinosa, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, at present, the coronavirus is driving developments worldwide. The better we are able to stop the unchecked spread of the virus, the quicker we can return to normal life. The first steps towards recovery have already been taken. In Germany, the government has adopted a stimulus package. Over 40 billion euros from this package will be invested in the ecological modernization of our country. We will also provide support to the Global South quickly and with a minimum of red tape to help the countries there tackle the crisis in a sustainable way. The quick and unbureaucratic use of the funds from the IMF and development banks for green projects in the Global South is also crucial, as are the finance pledges by the Global North. To give you an example from Germany's program, we are making huge investments in electric mobility. We are accelerating the expansion of charging infrastructure, supporting battery cell production, and promoting the purchase of electric vehicles. Our program also lays the foundations for becoming a pioneer in green hydrogen. Hydrogen from renewable energy sources is a key instrument for decarbonizing industry, shipping, and aviation. To achieve this, we want to cooperate with our European neighbors, but also with global partners. Our goal is the international market escalation of our green hydrogen industry. And I am convinced that our economic recovery measures will modernize Germany. Structural reforms towards a modern and green economy will also secure and create sustainable jobs. And we have a compass for economic recovery, the Paris Agreement. Together with the 2030 Agenda, it guides the way to climate-neutral, sustainable global economy. The German stimulus package is also supported at EU level by the European Green Deal. In the EU, we have decided to become climate neutral by 2050, and this is why we want to set a more ambitious climate target for 2030 this year. The European Commission has proposed a reduction of 50 to 55% by 2030. As the current chair of the EU Environment Council, my goal is for the climate target to be laid down in a binding European climate law. Ladies and gentlemen, unlike in the fight against the coronavirus, we know what the cure is for the climate crisis. It is available and affordable, and it will modernize our economies. I believe that we can make our society more climate friendly and at the same time more resilient if every country plays its part. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for those very inspiring video messages from the European Commission and Germany. We now have the Vice Minister of Ecology and Environment from China, followed by the Minister of Sustainability and the Environment from Singapore, followed by the Netherlands and Maldives. Vice Minister.
谢谢，尊敬的各位同事、女士们、先生们，大家好！非常高兴和各位一起讨论疫后可持续和韧性复苏这个话题。在当前形势下
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm delighted to exchange views with you on sustainable and resilient recovery from COVID-19. It is important for us all to maintain our resolution and confidence in jointly tackling climate change and to remain committed to green and low-carbon recovery. Therefore, the international community should further build consensus, resolutely resist unilateralism and protectionism, safeguard globalization and strengthen a global climate governance system that is fair, just, cooperative, and mutually beneficial. In the face of COVID-19, while it is a challenge for the international community to promote sustainable and resilient recovery, this can also represent an opportunity.
Centralized epidemic prevention and control. China is pressing ahead with the urgent and arduous work of what we call 6 stabilities and 6 securities, namely to ensure stability in employment, financial operations, foreign trade, foreign investment, domestic
Expectations, and to ensure security in job, basic living need, operation of market entities, food and energy security, stable industrial and supply chain, and the normal functioning of primary level governments. Following the new development concept of innovation, coordination, green openness, and benefit sharing, China is working hard to nurture new opportunities through reform and optimize the spatial pattern of towns and cities by accelerating modern urbanization and new infrastructure construction. We are developing new economic driving forces through scientific and technological innovation. By providing effective guidance on investment, we are promoting high-end, green, smart, and integrated industries and have stepped up energy conservation, new energy development, and circular economy, among others. We are vigorously promoting the development of the renewable energy sector, speeding up the building of a national carbon market. We are also advocating green and low carbon life and consumption in order to achieve an all-round green and sustainable recovery. In the meantime, China is working to gradually establish a dual circulation development pattern in which domestic and international economic cycles can boost each other while the domestic one plays a leading role. In doing this, we can better link domestic and international markets and use resources home and abroad with higher efficiency. China will continue to implement a proactive national strategy on addressing climate change, firmly uphold multilateralism, and conduct extensive communication and cooperation with all stakeholders regarding sustainable and resilient recovery, so as to promote a comprehensive and effective implementation of the Paris Agreement and attaining the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and also for keeping within time. Minister Fu from Singapore. The floor is yours, Minister.
Thank you, Japan, for this timely initiative. I'm pleased to be participating in a meeting on climate change, convened by a close friend of Singapore. Let me make 3 points on how we can rebuild post-COVID in a sustainable and inclusive manner in line with the Paris goals. Details can be found in our uploaded statement. First, we need to show commitment by submitting enhanced NDC and LEDs. Setting long-term decarbonization plans will demonstrate our commitment to address climate change. It can also support our recovery by unlocking new economic opportunities and jobs. This is why Singapore submitted our NDC and LEDs in March, and we encourage other parties to do likewise, thereby strengthening the momentum of global climate action at this critical time. Second, let us redesign our cities for greater sustainability, resilience, resource efficiency, and with smaller carbon footprints. Notwithstanding COVID-19, we are pressing on to make our towns greener. Our Green Towns program aims to reduce energy consumption by 15% by 2030. Our latest housing project will feature smart lighting, solar panels, centralized cooling systems, and car-like features aimed at reducing emissions. We will ramp up deployment of solar energy. We have an ambitious solar target of at least 2 gigawatt peak by 2030, despite our size limitation. This requires innovative use of space, including deploying a 60 megawatt peak floating solar PV on one of our reservoirs, which will be one of the world's largest when completed. We will harness new synergies across sectors to enhance our resource resilience and energy efficiency. Tuas Nexus, an integrated development that will co-locate with waste management facility with a water reclamation plant, will harness synergies from the water, energy, waste nexus, and allow us to save more than 200,000 tons of carbon dioxide emissions annually. We will transform Singapore into a city in nature by expanding our green spaces. We aim to plant 1 million trees across Singapore by 2030. We also aim to phase out private vehicles with internal combustion engines by 2040. Third, we need to invest in needle-moving, low-emissions solutions to support the transition to a low-carbon future. Singapore is investing and pursuing partnerships in emerging technologies such as CCUS and hydrogen. The government has earmarked 20 billion Singapore dollars to support research in high-impact areas such as climate change and health and biomedical sciences to study interlinkages and pioneer solutions. In a subject as complex as climate change, There is much to discover, to understand, and to learn from each other. This platform will be a rich resource to draw inspiration and pursue collaborative partnerships. I look forward to working with colleagues to advance global climate action and achieve a successful COP26 next year. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Minister, and for Singapore's very succinct three-point plan, submit, enhance, and updated NDCs and long-term strategies, redesign cities in key sectors such as buildings, energy, transport, and nature, and finally step up investments in low-emission solutions. Very useful intervention. I now give the floor to distinguished minister from the Netherlands, followed by the Maldives, followed by Australia.
Dear Chair, dear Mr. Hart, Minister Koizumi, dear colleagues, it's great to meet you at this online ministerial roundtable. The COVID-19 pandemic affects global public health and causes an economic crisis. Worldwide, we're dealing with the same challenges. As we are preparing the largest economic stimulus packages since the adaptation of the Sustainable Development Goals and the Paris Agreement, we must apply the right priorities and criteria. Only then we can have an economic recovery powered by low-carbon infrastructure, green jobs, and resilient livelihoods. COVID-19 demonstrates the need for funding mechanisms and capacity-building solutions to better manage risks and to build resilient societies. I'd like to say a few things, very briefly, with regard to the Dutch approach in both COVID-19 and climate change. First, the Netherlands government is currently preparing its policies and measures for the economic recovery, including green investments required to strengthen the economic sustainability. The package will be announced mid-September. It is expected plans will also be aligned with the EU's Recovery and Resilience Facility that Frans Timmermans just mentioned. As a government, we are committed to firmly uphold the 2030 and 2050 mitigation goals, which ensure a green foundation under the economic recovery from COVID-19. The National Climate Agreement commits the government to reduce domestic GHG emissions by 49% in 2020, and the Climate Act includes a binding target to reduce domestic GHG emissions by 95% in 2050. Second, in our climate adaptation strategy, water is an essential element, and the same goes for the COVID-19 pandemic. Washing our hands with water and soap is a first line of defense. The Global Commission on Adaptation, led by Ban Ki-moon, Bill Gates, and Kristalina Georgieva, has initiated the Water Action Track. It is collaborating with key stakeholders to make recovery projects sustainable, inclusive, and more adaptive to climate change. To help trigger this systemic change, the Netherlands will be hosting the first ever global summit of world leaders entirely focused on climate change adaptation. And that will be held on January 25th in 2021. With this online conference, we will join forces worldwide to offer hope, energy, and real solutions. Let's ensure that our recovery from COVID-19 is a resilient one. Dear colleagues, I'd especially like to thank the Japanese colleagues for organizing this useful meeting and their initiative to launch the online platform on sustainable and resilient recovery from COVID-19, in which we can exchange ideas like today. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you so much, Minister. And again, thank you for the Netherlands' leadership on the adaptation and resilience agenda. And we hope that the Global Summit early next year, in January next year, can really help us in connecting adaptation and resilience to the green recovery, as well as the update of enhanced NDCs by parties to the Paris Agreement. I now give the floor to distinguished Minister of Environment of the Maldives, Minister Hassan.
Chair, Ministers, Excellencies, and colleagues. First of all, I would like to thank Mr. Koizumi for organizing this important event and inviting me to speak at this event. The urgency to address issues relating to energy security has become clearer than ever during this pandemic. I'm going to upload the presentation that I have made after I speak. First of all, I would like to introduce my country. The Maldives is a small island coral atoll nation in the Indian Ocean, consisting of 1,100 small islands, and only 187 islands are inhabited, and we got nearly 145 tourist resorts. The population is just over 500,000 people. Our GDP per capita is $10,300 US, and our land area is around 115 square kilometers, and the EEZ is about 859 square kilometer. So if you look at our country is a tiny in terms of land, but if you look at the sea area, including EEZ, we can be considered a relatively large country. You don't see the icon.
Minister, please continue.
I'm here. Okay. Going to look at the energy sector in our country. We are heavily dependent on importation of fossil fuel. Currently, we spend in nearly we're nearly spending 10% of our GDP for importation of fossil fuel. We spend $270 million US for the importation of this. Currently, renewable energy consists only 21 megawatt, which is like 7.5% of our energy needs. But we trying to modernize our industry energy generation capacity by actually adapting to renewable energy. And we heavily subsidize electricity currently. Last year, we spent $60 million US for subsidies. And this year, we have budgeted for $22 million US for that. But our cost of production of energy is very high. Therefore, we are implementing projects that will actually enhance our capacity. By 2023, nearly 28% of our energy will be produced from renewable sources, and we are targeting for that. We are implementing projects with the assistance of ADB and World Bank and other development partners so that our renewable energy capacity can be enhanced. Because of our limited land area, there's restrictions that how much solar PV, for instance, that we can actually be placed on land. Therefore, we are embarking on installing solar energy and other energy resources on marine environment. We have already called for 21 megawatt installation for bidding, and of which 10 megawatt will be installed on lagoons. This will be one of the largest facility. In terms of other renewable energy sources that we're thinking about, we're already conducting research with a Japanese university on wave energy. We are embarking on feasibilities of OTEC and ocean current and wind energy. At the same time, we are really thinking seriously about green hydrogen as well. Maldives is surrounded by clear water, and therefore with renewable solar energy that we can actually produce, we believe, green hydrogen and use green hydrogen with fossil fuel cells so that our dependency on imported fossil fuel be reduced. I personally thank Mr. Koizumi for organizing this important event, and thank you for inviting us. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Minister.